again. Thank you for waiting patiently many months for a new video. I've been a bit busy at work, had a lot going on, as I'm sure you can appreciate. What with the pandemic situation, kind of takes a little bit longer to do everything over there, so just trying to keep it going. I've not even had time to build stuff really, but I did get this kit back in August. I wanted to review it as soon as I got it and just never had time. This is the Academy 135th scale US Army UH-60 Lima. I'm very excited about this kit because this is the aircraft that I currently serve my time on with the United States Army. So it's a very big kit. 135th scale for a helicopter is quite large, but the joys of having an aviation unit on a military base is that the model shops usually stock what is prevalent on the installation. So I think my buddy that got me this picked it up from the model shop on post. So we're going to move my widget that I was using to hold the box up, and we'll take a look first at the decals. So these come in a little plastic baggie, which is good to keep them nice and protected. We've got a lot of detail to go over. There is one detail that's missing, but we'll get to that. As you can see, we've got an airborne sticker here, United States Army. We've got some nasty gal insignia, as well as this is for the tail pylon because it's an antenna. That's actually very close to being correct. These, however, they'll go on the ESSS fairings, I believe, looking at them based on where the handhold is, and this would be textured, so not quite right. I actually believe that this is the antenna for the tail pylon as opposed to this one. Not terrible though. At least they've given you a pre-cut piece that's the right size and shape, rather than you having to figure out how to texture it or have to mask it off or anything like that. We'd have some very fine no step detail here just above my thumb. There's a spell mistake on this one. It's modified as opposed to modified, with something, looks like an NSN, used only on aircraft, modified with another, what looks like it's a mock NSN. It's a NATO stock number. It'd be what it be. It could be that whatever vehicle, be it from the National Guard or from the Screaming Chickens, is inaccurate, but kind of just gotta take the rub on that one. Other than the error, it looks very nice. We've got these up here. These are the warning labels for the back of the pilot seats, and they are somewhat legible in the larger text. The smaller text, as I'm sure you can appreciate, doesn't come through as well. These are the open, closed and unlocked for the cabin doors as opposed to the pilot doors, and that's all quite legible as well. So they are Academy's homebrew, made in Korea, but they're very nice looking decals there. So put them back in their bags. I don't want them to get spoiled. I bought a lot of kits recently that have got spoiled decals in them, and it kind of upsets me. Here we've got the instruction manual. It's an absolute heifer, so we're not going to go through the whole thing. We're just going to go through kind of the cliff notes. So building up the main rotor hub, it does show you the direction of travel as a kind of separate image, which is quite nice. For the tail rotor, it shows you where the decal should be and also a finished assembly, so you can see how that's to go together. And I like this. I like that it's got, this is a theme throughout. Here's the pilot's armor plate. It's got photos of the actual model to illustrate how it should be. Here's our T700 engine, tail landing gear assembly. I like the tail landing gear assembly. I end up working on that quite a lot. I'm quite good at it, so I keep getting that one. In difference to the mic, it's got the single rear stave there. I apologize, the camera was slightly up higher so I could fit the box in, and then it's kind of thrown me off a little bit. So yeah, we've got, these are the E-SSS pylons and the crash-worthy fuel stores. These are an optional part, you don't have to have them on there. We've got a bunch of Limas here where I am, and not all of them have that. So, personal preference. Same with the M60 and the hoist. The mic model has a different hoist, just in case you're interested. Then we've got some extra details here. This door, I don't know where that's supposed to be, which I know sounds a bit crazy, but I'm not seeing on the instructions on these pages where it gets added. If it's where I think it is, then it shouldn't be on the Lima. I've not seen a Lima with it. In fact, the painting guide shows us that the doors here, this is to access the aft avionics compartment. I've never seen that on a Lima. On all the Limas that I've had the displeasure of working on, because getting into this area on the Lima is very difficult. You have to climb over the fuel cells, which is not a lot of space when you're 6'2" and have relatively broad shoulders. So trying to get into that part is a bit, it sucks, basically. But it is what it is. And then we've got, this is for just an anonymous UH-60, it looks like. Be 180 would be the tail number on it. Then for other painting options, we've got, this is an Alpha in the 78th Aviation Battalion. It's got the decals for that as well. We've got a California National Guard and a Desert Storm version as well, which has got 000 number because it's anonymous. And then our California Nasty Gals. So yeah, I mean, it all goes together. I've never seen any of the aircraft. I've never been in the 78th Aviation Battalion or the 101st. So I don't really know what their helicopters look like. But they don't look too bad at all. Moving on now to the actual plastic. We've got the main rotor blades, 4 of. All the rivets and things look like they're in the right spot on the blade cuff. The blade tip cap and the trim tab all look very nicely molded. I'm not seeing underneath, there should be a little port. I'm gonna say it's around about here, just inboard of the panel line for the tip cap, where there should be a little port where we can plug in our blade rope. That doesn't appear to be there, but it's not the worst thing that I've ever seen be missing on a model. This is the cover for our hydraulic deck. It does have a little cutout in the top for the wire cutter, and the vent is pre-molded on there. Bifilar weight support. Normally these very outer parts would be loose, but there is a really big washer that goes in there, so it being molded as a single part doesn't look too terrible. You can see the little sort of semicircle on the inboard side of them where the hole is. That's all quite accurate. We've got the hub, and then it's got, in two parts, it's got the uppermost mount for the pitch control rod, as well as the actual spindle here where it clamps down onto the blade. And looking at it, the blade just inserts in there quite happily. We have the swash plate. It appears to be molded as a single part, and that's where the bottom of the PC rod will go into, so that looks fine. There's a bit of crap on this frame, I don't know where it came from. Dig that out. But yeah, that's kind of the big hitters off of this frame. This is one of the upper covers for the top of the engine. That's got the kind of exhausts molded into it as well. And then a few more parts. Side doors, Chief's windows are up at the top. If we flip it, we can have a look at them. And they all look quite nice as well. Some of these compartments, this is the APU would be inside one of these guys. It's going to be under this one for the APU, and that's another place where having small hands is quite advantageous. And then a few parts up top as well for that T700 engine. So first frame looks quite nice. Frame 2 is a lot of repeated parts. So we've got our external fuel store tanks. We've got 4 parts here to make up our 2 external stores pods. Then we've got crew seats. Now if you want to, you don't have to put the crew seats in. I've seen more aircraft that don't have crew seats in than I've seen aircraft that do have crew seats in. So a bit of dealer's choice there. And then a couple of what appear to be M60 machine guns. Never seen an M60 on a Black Hawk, but if you were building an older one from a roundabout desert storm sort of town, the M60 is probably going to be the right answer. We have the cockpit here, the instrument panel. We've got pilot seats. I don't see any cushions to put in the pilot seats. Pilots love their cushions. These would be what we would use. These two here, right on my middle finger, would be what you would use in place of the external stores. This is your upper ESSS fairing. And then these are probably going to be called out as the crew chief seats, I would imagine. Got some aerials and the like, but nothing super important. This is going to be tail landing gear because it's got the fork cut in 2 halves. I did see someone crashed a Black Hawk. They didn't crash it. They made a hard landing, and they split the top half of this strut clean in half, bent all of this assembly, and we had to go out there with a crane and a hoist and lift the back of the aircraft off the ground so that they could essentially beat the entire tail landing gear out of the aircraft and put back in a new one. The pilots utterly destroyed that thing. I have no idea how they managed it. It was never explained to me. All I know is I was standing there with my supervisor thinking, what did they do and how? These are glass parts. Got the cockpit here. You're gonna have to do a bit of black painting around the top because the center part is black. Or sorry, airframe green to be technically accurate. Pilot's windows, crew chief's windows. These are for the nose bubble that are going to go outboard of the rudder pedals to show you the cotter pin that you cannot reach. On the flight controls, and then these go in the actual cabin windows, and then a couple of extra bits for the lights that go underneath the aircraft and positional lights, stuff like that. I'm gonna guess one of these ones up here should be an ACL, an anti-collision light. I'm seeing these, I know what these are, but I'm not going to tell you what they are because I'm pretty sure it's classified. Someone told me it was classified. I don't have a security clearance. If Dave the FBI agent's listening, I don't have one and I'm not about to get in trouble for it, but if you recognize them and you Google them, I'm sure you'll know what they are. I'm not going to tell you though, because I'm weird. Then the final frame is all the big parts. So it comes as two molded halves of the airframe. This part here you're going to have to cut out, as well as obviously this one. And then this is going to be your floor piece that's going to fit in. It's not detailed at all, but normally with the floor we would paint it. We would paint a sort of a grey colour. I think this is the lower floor to kind of give it some structural integrity, and then this is a floor that sits. No, this is going to be the ceiling. This is going to be the ceiling part. For this, we would paint it grey, and then there would be stripes of high grit paint down it. If you do want to, this square here is the cutout for the cargo hook, which should be viewable from below in a little I'm looking for the right word in my head, and I get a little cubby hole up inside the airframe. So it's open on the external side, but it's closed by a little hatch here on the internal side. So if you want to model an aircraft slinging a load like, say, a Humvee, open that up for the sake of accuracy, because one of the chiefs literally just needs to sit and stare at it and make sure it's not going somewhere stupid. Because once it sways to a certain point, they just cut it, because it affects the aircraft's ability to fly. Rear stable looks good. It's smooth in the middle, like I'm pretty sure it should be. I've not looked closely at the stabilator on a mic recently, but that looks about right based on memory. And then you've got your hole here is for the tail rotor. Tail rotor goes on the right side on a Black Hawk because Sikorsky said so. A lot of the panels here are actually already molded on. So your doghouse fairing, your APU exhaust is right here, this little bubble. This square here is, you're going to probably use that as a mounting hole for the actual exhaust, which is going to come out in this area here, but it's going to come off the aircraft in an oval shape. Engines go in here, and then this is your hydraulic deck up here with all your flight controls and what have you. And then this is a ceiling. This is going to be the forward end because it's got the PCLs are up at the front, power control levers, a bunch of buttons, and the circuit breakers are molded. I hope you can see to the left and right there, those are the circuit breaker buttons. It's not an abundance of rivets. Yeah, so that has been a look at the Academy UH-60 Blackhawk. Definitely, thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.